Welcome to 340. Before we begin, if you enjoy thoughtful conversations about relationships, intimacy, emotional health, and what it means to be human, please follow 340. We're now listened to in more than 85 countries around the world, and every follow helps us continue bringing these conversations to more people. Today's conversation touches something that sits beneath relationships, intimacy, sexuality, personal growth, and perhaps even the loneliness so many people experience in modern life. We live in a world that is more connected than ever before. We can reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. Yet many people feel increasingly disconnected from themselves, from their bodies, from their emotions, and from the people they love the most. We have access to endless information, podcasts, books, and advice. We understand more than ever about psychology, communication, and relationships. Yet many people still struggle to feel truly seen, truly safe, and truly connected. My guest today is Rachel Black from Tantric Heart. Her work explores embodiment, nervous system awareness, emotional safety, intimacy, and the subtle ways we learn to protect ourselves from the very connection we actually long for. And what interests me about Rachel's work is that it points towards questions that are far bigger than Tantra, questions about what it means to be human, questions about presence, about trust, and about learning how to feel again in a culture that often rewards performance more than connection. This conversation is not about techniques or fixes. It is about the space between people. It is about why so many of us long for intimacy while simultaneously fearing it. It is about what happens when we stop performing and start showing up. Rachel, I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Great. And I want to dive directly into a question to get the conversation started.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at society today, what concerns you the most about how people relate to themselves and each other?
I feel that today, there's so much distraction, with the world and technology, our phones, social media. I know for me, running a business online is like, I'm online all the time. And so there is a physical disconnection from ourselves, from our relationships, from our ability to be present and in the moment inside of our relationships. There's so much that pulls us in every direction, that we have become, a species of beautiful performance, beautiful. We're creating beautiful things on the outside, but on the inside, there seems to be this missing piece, this simple missing piece that is being lost in the noise. Honestly, it's lost in the noise. So the noise being everything on the outside, and the inside having this missing piece that really is just begging us to come home. That's it.
That's beautiful. So what do you think modern life is doing to our nervous systems?
Well, I find that, and I can speak from experience, really. I find that when we don't have a practice of presence or just a place to be in our bodies, there's a piece of our nervous system that just needs to be recognized, right? It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be felt. And when I say nervous system, I'm really talking about, the sensations inside of our awareness, right? Like what is it to move through a day? What is it to, interact with our colleagues at work? What is it to have children that we feed and put to bed every night? What is happening inside of that reality that is not able to really connect inside of presence. I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, when I think about it, it's like, I don't really like to talk too much about nervous system because
Hmm?
the nerve, I do and I don't. The nervous system is this like very intricate system inside of our bodies, right? It's so intricate. It's wrapped up in so many different pieces, the past, the present, the future, how we have been wired as children, how we've grown up inside relationships, experiencing the the duality or the polarity between mother and father. And so inside of this space that's in our bodies that really can dictate how we react to everything in our lives, right?
Mm.
I mean, that's how it goes. Like we react as far as how we are feeling. And if we're not connected to how we're feeling and why, then we're just one big reaction. Like that's it, you know? And so I find that in the work that I do is like all about kind of like going from the top down, the head down. Like, what is it? How do we rewire ourselves, our minds, to be able to sit inside of our bodies and experience life, not just from the mind, but from the
Yeah.
body? You know, and so you could say that's like experiencing life from the nervous system, but it's more than that. It's also sensation. It's also the energy of our body, the frequency of our body. That's it. So yeah,
Yeah, I
I
agree on
hope
that.
yeah.
But if you look at, us people today, do you feel like we're facing an intimacy crisis in one way where we are today?
Yes, I do. And no, it's interesting because I feel like we have been in the intimacy crisis for a long time. And now I feel like we're waking up in a new evolution of that.
I feel
Um,
like that's the work you and I are doing in one way, in different ways, but it sort of talks about it in a different way.
yeah. I feel like the intimacy crisis happened a long time ago. Um,
Yeah.
and not just inside relationships, it's also intimacy with everything, you know, intimacy with life itself, not
Yeah.
just not just another person, but with ourselves, you know.
Exactly. It starts with
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
So what do you think people actually are longing for beneath? I mean, everybody's searching for love, sex, and relationships, but what do you think people are actually looking for beneath that search?
People really are craving and needing and longing for the capacity to be seen fully,
Yeah.
to be met fully. And that's that's where it gets interesting because as people, we crave for someone else to be able to see us, to know us, to meet us where we are, exactly how we are, with full acceptance and authenticity. And the only way that we feel safe enough to actually have that experience is if we meet ourselves first, most of the time. I'm not one of those people that's like either this or that. But I do feel like when we are able to meet ourselves, to really have that deep self-knowing, that self-awareness, the experience of sitting inside our body fully and taking up all the space is when we're able to really feel safe enough to be seen by somebody else. So I think there's a really large movement happening with embodiment work,
Yeah.
and like childhood work and shadow work and all these, things that are happening in the world of like self-help, healing, and wellness. And it's all wonderful. And it does lead, it is the portal, it is the doorway into having a conscious relationship with anything.
Mm.
It is the doorway. And it's not really that. It can get really deep, like it can take years to really feel safe inside of ourself, especially if we've already had so many experiences that have taken us outside of our body. Um, it's interesting to
I
have
agree.
to find our way. Yeah, it's interesting to have to find our way back inside, you know, and especially when it hasn't felt safe to, you know, as children, as and through our adult lives. So that's part of the process is like, how do we find our way back inside of ourself so that we can fully meet someone else or be met by someone else in
Mm.
a space of true intimacy, you know, of authenticity and true intimacy.
No, I think that's so beautiful the way you're putting it.
Yeah,
But you work a lot with the body.
I
Um,
do.
so why do you think so many people live almost entirely in their heads?
Why do I think that? I feel that we have been taught to produce, to solve, to it's part of the human survival system, right?
Mm.
It's like we have to produce in order to survive. We have to you know, go out, make money to support our family. We have to solve problems that come at us like this now, like problems just, whoo, whoo, it's so fast. Everything moves so fast, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like there's, we have to be in our mind in order to survive. It's part of the condition of this world. And there also has to be time and space to be able to live in both parts, our mind and our body. We have to know both in order to have our whole piece of technology working in balance,
Mm.
right? And I find that, you know, when we live up in our minds for generations, there is a serious disconnect from our bodies that has been put there in order to survive. So it's like if we go all the way back to like when we were hunting and gathering as tribes, right? You know, for a man, a group of men to go out into the wild and bring home a wild animal to their families, to their tribes, right? They had to live simultaneously in their mind, but also have this capacity to be able to move through the world in their bodies. Because not only were they working as a team, right?
Yeah.
If inside the elements, but like if you wanted to feel as you're trying to go kill a tiger, like you're going to be eaten. You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to solve problems. You have to be able to really, in order to survive, you have to be able to solve problems in your mind. You have to. It's survival. So, but as women, it's like as women, as gatherers, you know, we are multifaceted. We can have our attention in multiple things at once. We could have our attention in our children. We could have our attention in the
Mm.
field that we're gathering in. We could have our attention in the people that we're gathering with. We could be talking about our stories. We could be talking about what's happening tomorrow, all while picking, gathering, searching, taking care of baby on the back, and looking for danger all at the same time, right? So for a woman, I mean, for a woman, it's like very natural to live inside of our bodies and our senses. We're multi-sensory constantly. And for a man, it's very important to, this is like a generational DNA biological way that we have survived here now, speed up, right? Present moment. There's this explosion of spirituality. There's this explosion of like, oh, wow, like we as humans are all connected into this big energetic web. There's a new profound knowledge about how human beings have this beautiful sense of frequency and how we're all connected into this big picture. This is happening. We are waking up in this sense, right?
Mm.
And so we're coming from, you know, I think that the I don't want to get too esoteric here because this is one of those things that I can get really detailed in, but I feel like there is a newfound evolution of like, we are dropping back into our bodies because we can, because we've been given this information that actually, in order to feel connected to everything around us, we do have to have this connection to sensation.
Mm.
We do have to have this connection to energy, you know, that's not just in our mind. We can learn new skills with ancient ways of meditation that bring us into our bodies. all of this is like at our fingertips, right? And
Yeah.
so before it wasn't at our fingertips. We had to go into ashrams and study. We had to go into caves and study from yogis. We had to study from these masters, and it hasn't been for people like you and me,
I mean, it
like,
hasn't been accessible in the same way, right?
right, it hasn't. And so now it is. Like we have the internet, we have books, we have teachers that are teaching on the internet. And, for someone like me, like I'm a mom, I have a job, I have tons of things I have to do every single day. I cannot go live in a cave and learn from a master yogi or a tantra master or anything like that. I have to like I have to incorporate it in my life right now, doing
Yeah.
what I'm doing right now as a mom, things to do, all of that. And so I find that, before it was like about survival, and now it's not so much. Like we are able to drop back into our bodies and be inside without getting eaten by a wild animal. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah, but
mean?
we're more in I think right now we're not threatened to death in most parts of the world anyway, right now. So
Right. Yeah.
we can actually get that luxury, I guess, to some extent.
hmm Yeah, it's luxury in order like this whole thing that we're talking about right now is luxury. It really is. It's the true luxury of
It is.
having the freedom and the invitation to explore spirituality, to explore embodiment, to explore safely what it is to actually get inside the body and untangle the pieces of
Mm.
us that have been disconnected or numb or just
You mentioned here before a bit more how people get more spiritual, I guess, and looking for that. But what does genuine presence actually feel like in the body?
mm,
Because for me,
gen
presence for me is really when you are truly enjoying moments, not just intimacy, but just in nature or where you are, whether it's beauty or something else, but it's appreciating the now.
yes, it's the present of life, right? It's the true gift of who we are and what we are. Presence is something that we can speak about from our mind, right? We can talk
Mm.
about it. We can read books about it. We can study it. We can sign up for courses, um, access it through that whole like logical invitation. But true presence is beyond all of that. It's like it's accessible to us right now. It doesn't have to be read about or studied about or even it's literally like presence is when you ask me like what is it inside of the body, to me, if I could say it, talk about presence in a way of feeling, it's that moment where you drop fully into your entire being and there's no more form. There's no separation between you and everything else. It's just energy. That's it. There's no words to describe it really. There's no specific steps to get there. It's different for everybody. Everybody has a different way.
Yeah, but I love the way you're describing it.
I live in that spot as much as I can. So when
Yeah,
I
I
work
try
with
to either.
when I work with people about presence, it's like, and what I love about intimacy coaching is when I'm able to really experience someone feeling presence for the first time, like really
Mm.
what it is, and like asking them to describe what it is that they're experiencing and their sensation in their body. It's like warm, tingling, you know, a sense of love, like deep love that's just like always there. Like it's always there, it's nowhere outside of us. It's inside of us. Um, and
And it's
it,
accessible for everyone.
it's accessible for everyone at any time of the day. Oh, there's a mosquito that's trying to get my face. Sorry. Um, yeah, it's the true gift of our mind. That's the thing, is like, that's why I'm like, the mind is such an important vessel. It's such an incredible tool. Um, and everything works simultaneously. I'm not one of those people that's like, get out of the mind into the body. That's it. Like the mind is your enemy. It's actually not. The mind is actually, you know, such a beautiful piece of technology, and it helps us get into our bodies. It will help us get into the present moment.
Mm.
Not so much the thoughts, not so much like that part of us that's like always thinking, always fixing, always solving, always looking outside. But the mind can bring us inside the body. The mind, we can use the mind as a tool to bring us inside the body in the moment, in the present moment. And so intimacy coaching is really about, for me, teaching people how to use the mind to get into the body, to experience what it's like to be present.
Oh, it's beautiful. So how do you know when someone is truly with you versus simply performing connection, particularly now when you talk about like intimacy coaching and stuff like that as well?
How do I know? I don't ever fully know, but oftentimes people, when they finally feel that moment of presence, it's emotional. It's emotional because it's real. And I'll get people when I do deep sessions with people like that, and it's a very energetic. Um, the body, you can see it in the body when someone starts to like get inside of their body for the first time, or get
Mm.
inside their body. You know, it's a lot of like emotion. Sometimes it's like tears. Sometimes it's like a physical reaction inside their body, like shaking, or giggling, or something like that. But also, I never really know if someone's faking it. It's like that's kind of up to them. I never really know. There's a lot people carry inside their body that they don't want to touch.
I
They
think
don't want
that's
to touch it.
Yeah, but that's because they're afraid in my
Hmm.
mind, right? I think a lot of people
Right.
are afraid about what's going to come up if they start looking, stop. When they slow down and they start looking, I think that's when you become really afraid of what's going to pop up. Because
Yeah.
it's not normally when you slow down, for me at least, it's not the rosy tinted things that is coming up. It's actually the dark things in the shadow that starts popping up first in my mind,
Hmm.
or in my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, I think so. I have a special technique often, and I use a lot of like in like my practice. I Because I've like kind of been trained in the somatics of the body, and I really love using breath work of people to like really
Mm.
get them out of their mind and into their body. I find that just sitting someone down on a couch and asking them to close their eyes and go inside their body, it's like it's really difficult. Like people are like, wait, how do I do that? What's the way in? Like I can feel sensations in my body, but I can't really put anything to it. And when you use the actual breath, the process of breathing, it really does help people stop thinking, and they start feeling. It stops the thoughts, but it takes time. Like it's usually about 10 minutes. Like I find that there's a limit of breath work where it gets really extreme and intense and emotional, and a lot of stuff gets brought up energetically. But I also feel like if like in the beginning of a session, just bringing the awareness into the breath and bringing breath into the body creates this separation of like that thought process that loops and loops and loops and loops, and gets people into their bodies a lot easier. And so that they can experience what it's like to be inside their body. They could experience what it's like to feel the darkness, the dark shadows, without having their mind pull them out of it so fast, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Um,
It's
yeah.
it's exciting.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And I went through training as a breathwork facilitator to like really explore different ways of breathing. so that it's not a breathwork session, because I've been breathing, I've been in many breathwork sessions. I believe that like breath is the doorway to Eros, and Eros is the doorway to God. That's kind of how I've like seen it. So breathing is a thing that we do every day, all the time, without even thinking about it. And so even changing it up and thinking about the way that we breathe puts us into a space of more presence, because breath is happening right now. It's happening this very second. And if we can drop our awareness in through the breath, it does help with presence. It does help with, bringing
Mm.
awareness inside of the body in a session. So yeah, I
Well, that's
usually,
beautiful.
yeah, it's helpful. It's beautiful and helpful. And there's a lot of people that have never, had the experience of just breathing with full awareness. It's interesting. It's something that we do all the time. It's like our heart beating.
It is, but I
But
think but it's about breathwork for me is also about slowing down in one way, and you focus on the breathing. And I think again, I think that's why I see a lot of people are afraid of it in one way, to slow down.
yeah, to slow down and to feel what's underneath the surface.
Yeah.
hmm
So why do you think some people fear intimacy more than reaction?
I find that intimacy is the mirror, right? Intimacy is the true mirror of ourself. Intimacy is being able to see ourself reflected
Yeah.
through something else, right? And I find that a lot of people can't look at themselves. It's too much. It's too scary. And I don't find this to be a flaw at all. I find this to be a very brilliant way of protecting ourselves. You know, uh, the truth is I sit in spaces with people and explore some of the deepest intimacy itself, right? Explore some of the deepest parts of their past, their, who they are, their thoughts, their dreams, their desires, their fantasies. So many of us haven't been given like a permission slip to be who we are,
Yeah.
to just be who we are, with everything that is. We've, had to fit into certain spaces, containers, characters in order to survive, right? In order to, even as children, like making sure that we make our parents happy, however that
Yeah.
is. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to be too much. We don't want to get in trouble. Um, a lot of us are walking around with really trauma, you know, intense trauma
A
around
lot of
sex. Yeah, around
a
sex.
lot of people are there. A lot of people are there.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's around sex and intimacy. And so we carry that in our body, we carry those
Mm.
protective mechanisms that just want to keep us
And
from getting
it's
hurt again.
and I find that sad because I find like sex and intimacy is like one of the most it's the cheapest pleasure we can have that is
hmm
truly almost divine in one way, right? It's very enjoyable when you do it right, and it's people are blocking it in themselves when it's actually
hmm
accessible for everyone.
Yeah, it is. It's accessible for everyone, and it is very much divine. And I find that we
Yeah,
haven't been taught that sex is divine. We've been taught that sex is taboo, like needs to be hush
exactly.
hush.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
here's a I'm very curious about this question for you. So, what do women most wish men understood about their emotional world?
Mm, that's a good question. You know, women want to feel safe, and not the typical like safety that we think of when we think of the word safe. Women have been overcompensating. Um, for a long, long time. And I think that for a woman to feel like her emotions are safe to be expressed and not misunderstood, in a sense, like that she's too much. Like a woman feels,
Mm.
her natural feminine way. I mean, I don't believe that we're just feminine or just whatever. I think we have the whole thing, the whole,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
I'm the same.
yeah, for a woman to have the freedom and the space, the container to be full in her feeling allows her to feel safe. It's quite simple, but it's also very complicated. The best way to
Yeah.
explain it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say the same thing, and I think emotional safety is probably one of the key things. It's probably the key cornerstone in any relationship for intimacy. I
Hmm.
would say that is probably one of the key things in my mind as a foundation. If you think about, I'm almost thinking about it like architecture for human connection. I would say that is a pillar in that. So safety.
Hmm.
Can I bring my whole self there? My
Yes.
fears, my insecurities, my grief, my
Hmm.
imperfections, right?
Hmm.
And we're taught not to
Yep.
even show them because I think we're taught to hide our imperfections and perform.
Hmm. Yeah. And so but the thing about this though, this is the complicated part, is for a woman to really fully find that safety in
Mhm.
relationship, she must first meet herself.
True.
She must first tend to the pieces of herself that need that emotional safety and find and discover that the only true container for those parts of herself is herself.
Yeah. A lot of people in my mind, I think they're thinking that a relationship will be, if I get into a relationship, I will be happy. For example, I think to your point,
Hmm.
if you start with yourself, you can find happiness within yourself, and then you can take it from there. You can actually go into a relationship, and I think it's only in the long-term relationship you really test yourself how far you come on your own journey, though,
Hmm.
because it creates friction. I mean, it's not just the Hollywood version of a relationship that you get when you're in a long-term relationship. You also get the ups and downs and the bumps on the road and the friction that it actually creates, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I find that if I'm working with a woman who, isn't in a long-term relationship and she's single or she's in like a new-ish relationship with somebody, I find that bringing her back into her body and helping her meet herself, all the versions of herself. There's so many versions of self, right? As people, as humans, we have versions. We have childhood versions. We have just different pieces of ourself that show up in different scenarios. And I find that when I'm able to see and guide a woman back into her own body, and really take care of herself in that sense, from the version of herself that's the most mature, the most her highest version, So that's kind of where this work gets a little spiritual and woo-wooey, because I help people create a safe zone in their bodies that's their highest version of themselves. So I sometimes I bring a woman into her heart and help her create in her mind this imaginative throne,
Yeah.
where it's her inner queen. It's the woman that is going to learn and be taught how to take care of all the other versions of herself in moments of disconnection and in moments where she feels like uh, she needs to be validated,
Mm.
and her inner child needs to be tended to. So I feel like the relationship in this kind of scenario is the cherry on top. It's not the space that we actually work inside of. The relationship comes into the scenario and becomes this beautiful garden where she gets to express what she's already become.
Mm. But I think there's an interesting angle to what you're talking about here as well, because now we touched on the woman and what a woman needs to feel safe, but also for what is then required from a man, because this is sort of the other side of the coin, is sort of
Mm-hmm.
a woman actually needs to do her work and with herself, but it's
Mm-hmm.
equally as important for a man to do that, to actually, in my mind, it's about rewiring a lot of the inherited views on what masculinity is about. How do you actually keep a woman safe today? For example, how does a man provide emotional safety for a woman? How does a man make her feel safe? And I think that actually has been forgotten by a lot of men today.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really great question. And I'm a woman, so I would love to hear what you have to say about this and how this touches on you being a man.
I can do that. I mean, I think a lot of we're taught to perform, right? A lot of men think that masculinity is about being confident, knowing, performing, showing that you're in control, where you
Right.
prioritize yourself and you can make excuses to your partner. I have to work, I have to deliver, I need cars, boats, houses, trips, whatever it might be, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, if you don't have that, you're not enough. You're not good enough.
Yeah,
And
this is an interesting conversation because I
because,
get a lot.
yeah, sorry.
I hear from a lot of men around this, which is like, how can I show up for my woman or my wife or my partner when she just disregards me? You know, I feel so used. Like I've been providing and protecting her for so long, and she just is so disrespectful. Like I hear this all the time,
Yeah,
and this is the thing. Like this is relationship polarity, right? There's so many people that are offline of this delicate balance that it takes to have a conscious, intimate relationship with somebody. And
yeah,
so, as far as like men go, like men have needs too. Like, I'm going to get real raw with this subject. Men have needs too.
of course.
Men feel seen, respected, and um, kind of understood when they're given the space where they feel trusted, where they feel like their services are received into the heart space of a woman
Hmm.
fully. And so it's like, and a man, like how I see it is like the man is the container for the woman to relax inside of. This is the perfect example. So if that woman doesn't know how to relax, this container isn't going to help her relax. This container isn't going to meet her emotionally. Even if a man really has the container that's steady, that's
Hmm.
like, I'm devoted to you, I love you, I'm not going anywhere. Here, relax. That woman is only going to be able to go do what she can do as much as she's met herself. And so that
Hmm.
goes both ways. When a man is like, needs to be respected, needs to be like understood, needs to be trusted, but hasn't been able to trust, understand, or respect himself.
Mm.
Like that's the thing. It's like how much, and that's why this work is like the bottom layer of it is work in the self, work in yourself, self-awareness, presence with self. Where am I holding on to grief? Where am I holding on to the need to be uh, overcompensated? Where is my childhood wounding showing up in this relationship that's like needy or that's looking outside of myself for validation, right? And
Yeah.
we're all human. I'm in a conscious, beautiful partnership right now with someone who's done a lot of work on himself, and I find that I can sense when our inner child is in the room and it's
Mm.
happening. Like I can see it. I see
But
it in
you're
him.
aware. But I think there are a lot of people they're in that, and you're on autopilot, right? So you're in the inner child, and
Right.
there are two 6 year olds fighting with adult vocabulary instead of
Right.
actually being aware about where you are.
Yeah.
That
And
you
so
can
it's,
see, you get triggered, and you know that, okay, now it is my 6-year-old. Is it my 6-year-old Rachel, or is it my adult Rachel that is talking right now?
yeah. And so that's why the somatics and the breath work
Yeah.
and these tools, they're tools to get inside the body. That's it. We get inside the body. We say, oh, wow, look at all the inner children in there. Look at all the spaces that I've chosen to leave the room in intimate conversations because I don't
Yeah.
feel safe to talk about that. And so it's really just an
But
untangling. It's an untangling of things. And then,
yeah, but I want to drill into the men though a bit more here, because I agree
Mhm,
with you on the untangling and all those things, right? But men in general are actually taught to perform, and we're taught
mhm,
that vulnerability is a weakness.
right. Yeah.
And I've been talking about this before as well, and I think a lot of women see actually vulnerability as one of the most erotic thing there is when a man is truly
Mhm,
vulnerable with them.
mhm,
And what I try to tell men is sort of, if you dare to actually step out of your armor that you build up, because it's actually quite easy to build armor, and it's
mhm,
bloody harder to dare to walk without it.
right.
And I think that's where I think a lot of these things from a man's point of view, I think is sort of daring to be vulnerable and take accountability for that, I think is what a woman actually will start feeling more that emotional safety as well. That the man
Mhm,
can be more on level with her, sharing that vulnerability. And I think
mhm.
that's where a lot of men today are afraid, because we've been taught that it's a weakness, that it's
And
not
not
masculine to be
right. Get
vulnerable.
this though. Let me hear what you have to say about this because this is something that I find to be super relevant right now. And it goes back to childhood for a little
Hmm.
boy, right? That's getting brought up in a normal family system
Yeah.
where, he has a mom, he has a dad. His dad does whatever, his mom does whatever, whatever the scenario is. Um, and that little boy grows up with this innate sense
Hmm.
to be to be given the opportunity to be of service. It's this thing inside of a man, every boy
Yeah.
has this deep need to be of service, to help, to
Exactly. To
bring,
fix.
to fix, to make his mother smile and happy, and bring this
Exactly
sense
that.
of like, this like sense of like, I belong here. I'm worth this. My mother loves me. She accepts me. She respects me. She's giving me the opportunity to be a boy, a man, whatever. I call it like different stages, like a
Yeah, you
page.
know.
I did
But
Allison Armstrong workshops forever. So, so yeah, so these boys grow up, but the thing is there's a disconnect there because not every woman is capable of doing that, of saying, Jim, I am so grateful that you
yeah.
helped me with the trash today. You know how much relief you gave me by helping me with that? Thank you so much.
I mean, a man would be jumping up and down of happiness for that comment, right? But
Right.
because what you just described here, and this is sort of what I understood, men are taught to perform basically all these things that you just described. And what that actually teaches men is that love is conditioned. Love is not unconditional. It's actually conditioned in terms of how you please, how you perform, how you fix, how
How
you
you get it
do things,
right.
how you
And
get
if you
it
don't
right.
get it right, you're not going to get it.
Exactly. So love is conditioned, it's not unconditional.
Hmm.
So this is actually where men need to rewire a bit about how do we achieve unconditional love with our partner, that we walk into a relationship and say, I choose to love you, I choose to be with you every day, and I choose to do these things. And then when you're aware of yourself, I can make a conscious decision. I want to fix something for you, I want to help something for you. Most men, they don't even think about that they do these things because it's sort of on autopilot. We've been
Hmm.
taught since generations, to your point, to do this, to behave like this. And when we do that, we are actually not in connection. We're not even respecting ourselves in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not aware of ourselves. And that's the biggest challenge for men today. So I think for men and women to do this, I think women have to do their work to heal their inner child. But
Mm-hmm.
equally, men has to do the same thing, that for a woman to even feel safe with a man who cannot be vulnerable to her, how is she ever going to feel safe?
Right. It's this inner wounding, this like inner
It's a
mother
paradox,
father
right? Because
wounding.
it's like, hey, we
Yeah.
talk about, hey, you need, how does a man create emotional safety for a woman? It's actually starting with yourself again as a man to show that I can be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I try to teach this to guys I talk to is, I mean, if you think about it this way, you talk about sex and intimacy, every bloody guy wants to have a woman that loves sex. I mean, the vast majority of men just want to have a woman that loves sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've met any person, man or woman, who wants to have a bad sex life.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really want to have a bad sex life.
Yeah.
There are people who don't want to have a sex life at all, and that's a conscious decision. Okay, fine, so be it. But if you're in a relationship, most people actually want to have a good sex life. What I try to tell guys then is the fact that if you show yourself vulnerable, you dare that, because it's bloody more scary to show yourself vulnerable than to pull up an armor and don't talk about emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do it that way, I think it creates beautiful intimacy with a woman when you go down that path. And what you can uncover then is sort of beyond performance. It brings you into presence again, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that context.
Yes. I think it stems from people when it comes to like having a good sex life and stuff and having that ability to really have that deep connection with somebody
Mm-hmm.
that's to have the experience of having that deep, raw, authentic connection with somebody is it's so healing, first of all. Like
Yeah.
I find that like it can really heal the parts of our trauma and our past that are locked up in like shame and grief and disconnection. And for people to actually get it's interesting. It's like people will find their way to that space in different ways. Like sometimes it's doing work on the self, like, oh, I'm going to learn how to I'm going to do therapy. I'm going to do some coaching. I'm going to explore spirituality, you know,
There are different
ha
ways to do that.
different ways to do that. Everybody's finding their path and everybody's on their own path. And when it comes to like specific sex life, like when it comes to that, I find that the work on self and pleasure is like one of the most important things to improve your sex life is to deepen your relationship with your own pleasure, both men and women, not just women.
For sure.
Sometimes,
Not a men
yes,
for sure.
yeah, and I find that I think like when we break it down, like for a man to hold the container for a woman to relax into, really is like when it comes to sex, it's like specifically, um, I find that the more a man can sit inside his body and his own like pleasure and power, the more a woman can actually relax into her own pleasure, right? And so and it goes both ways. Like once that woman is relaxed inside of her pleasure and inside of her body and her awareness is inside of her body and the sensations inside of like the intimate container, then a man really gets to experience what it's like to be fully received, which
Yeah.
in that sense becomes the antidote, the healing part of that like for a man's like deep longing to be like fully received by a feminine person, is there. That's what
No,
happens,
I fully agree on that. But and you mentioned that before that you talked about the feminine, but I believe that we both have like a feminine and a masculine within us, whether we were men or women.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of guys, actually women too, I would say it actually goes both ways here as well, is we've taught to perform, right? And even
Mhm.
sex is something we perform.
Mhm.
That we're taught to perform, that we're taught to achieve orgasm. Oh, I'm not good enough if she doesn't orgasm. I have to orgasm. And women are like, I'm not good enough if he doesn't come.
Mhm.
And for me, it's like when you stop thinking about the end orgasm as the end goal and you just focus on the journey,
Mhm.
it becomes so much more intimate, pleasurable, and enjoyable, right? It doesn't have to be about achieving an orgasm in the end of the day.
Right. And so underneath that, what is there? How do we achieve? It's through presence.
It is through presence, exactly that.
Just, yeah, it's through presence. So a pleasure practice with self can literally just be, I'm going to be present.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
But it is, and when you do that, and you're with someone, and you first of all, as a man, you can become vulnerable, and you share that, and you're becoming more present, and you focus on actually just being, enjoying the touch of touching a woman, for example, and enjoying that.
Mhm.
It's that can become quite intense, both for the woman and for the man, in the end of the day. So
Mhm.
I think you can achieve even stronger and better orgasms by not focusing on reaching orgasm in that sense.
Right. Taking it completely off the table.
Exactly. And I think this is
Mhm.
sort of, if men and women think about this more, I think, their sex lives will be so much better.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I work with a lot of people around sex, specifically sex, because that's like I find
Mm,
one of the most beautiful things in being in a human body is making love with somebody else. So I find that the real work is being able to stay present um,
yeah.
in sex and letting go of expectation as far as like who's going to orgasm first or because you orgasm now it's my turn. Like all those expectations that have been that we're conditioned to like bring into the bedroom when making love. And then also it's like really when once the whole art of being present during lovemaking is established, it kind of opens up a world of other things, right? It opens up a world of
Mm,
really feeling safe with somebody else to be fully expressed in who you are, how you are, what you are. And I think that like the first step is being able to stay present.
mm,
The second step is being able to use your breath to like actually feel and sensitize your body because we're so desensitized, to
we are.
resensitize your body. And then from there, it's like the universe opens up into this whole other experience, which is like you know, because I'm so present with this person, you learn how to fully feel somebody else with your whole being.
Mm,
And that opens up this ability to have this safe connection because you've all of a sudden experienced this person in their most authentic energy, right?
yeah,
And
and that's a beautiful
it,
place to be.
yeah, that's a beautiful place to be. And that's like sacred sexuality and like the sex part of Tantra. I mean, I know we're not talking about too much about Tantra, but like Tantra isn't just about sex. It's about everything. Like sex is like tiny 2% of what Tantra is, it's
Yeah.
2%, it's tiny little sliver. But when we're able to bring presence into our lives and have intimacy part of have give intimacy like is the practice, right? That's the spiritual practice is intimacy, then we're able to open up into a world of like really being able to be fully authentic with somebody else in the space that is the most vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned this a few times now, and I mean, I know you do work a lot with Tantra, so many people do become skeptical when they hear the word Tantra.
Yeah.
So, what do you wish they understood?
The Tantra is everything. That's it. It's everything. I am Tantra. You are
Yeah.
Tantra. We are all that. And I find there's been a lot, and especially in the West, right? With the West really bringing a lot of attention to tantric sex and um, I don't want to say it's given it a bad rap because it hasn't. It hasn't. It's just what it is. Like, just what's become of it. But true Tantra spirituality, philosophy, practice, different lineages, the truth of Tantra is that, this gives me chills when I think about it, is that Tantra is just the very idea that the divine, God, whatever you want to call the divine, whatever it is to you, it's completely open and vast, is and how deep your connection can be with what's inside of yourself and how that space inside of yourself that's witnessing it all, right? That's witnessing life, that's witnessing sensation, that piece, that part of you, and how that is within everything, not just you, but all the people that you are with, everything that you walk through, the nature itself, everything is that. And it's it's hard to sometimes for us to wrap our minds around that. But Tantra is just that space within yourself that is within everything. And so when we can be in that space during lovemaking, that space of God, that space of the divine, that divine connection with everything, it brings a certain texture to the experience that's unlike anything else. Just as I would be washing the dishes in that space of divine witnessing, the dishwashing experience is going to be completely different than if I was up here thinking about, oh, no, I got to do this tomorrow. I got to do this tomorrow. And I can't forget to write this on my list. And I got to call this person back. I'm not present with the experience of washing the dishes. It's just, but when in that moment of deep presence, you are becoming the witnesser of this experience.
And what are the sensations you feel when you do the dishes, for example? So
love.
Yeah, exactly. But it's
love.
you feel all the sensations in the body. You can feel the water around your hands, for example, right?
Yes, it's love.
Yeah.
And so when we're able to be in that beautiful space with somebody else, where we're both witnessing each other from that space, that divine, beautiful space, it's unlike anything. It is a psychedelic experience. I know you know what I'm talking
I
about
know.
because you've
I know.
experienced it. It's a psychedelic experience. And so
It's fantastic. It's just, I want everybody to be able to experience that, right?
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm doing this. And I also find that life is a psychedelic experience. Once you've witnessed that part of yourself, every part of your life can be like that. Every part of your life can be connected to a blissful place of belonging and purpose and connection and compassion and love, even the hardest stuff like grief, losing our family members, walking through
Yeah.
divorce, losing a child, like even war, disconnection, pain, suffering, death, even those things are an invitation for us to experience life from that space. From this is happening, but it's not happening to me, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
happening. How can I connect with this from that space in order to fully embody it, in order to fully receive what it is that's happening? Sometimes that's a full body grief experience
Yeah.
where, it doesn't all have to be bliss and pleasure, but, that's not that's not the way. And I find that, I've had different experiences where, like, for instance, like 3 years ago, I lost my dad. It was sudden, He was like the light in my life. My dad was like my best friend. I lost him. And then in a month after that, I lost my stepfather. So it was like these two really intense deaths of father figures in my life that truly was like such a transformative process because I sat in the witnesser and I transformed through the grief instead of it literally ripping me apart. What it taught me was about love. What it taught me was about how deeply I loved someone else and how the parting of their body taught me how, you know, divine that experience was, and how divine breath was, and how divine that attachment was, and how much it taught me about myself, And so, yeah, I mean, it just, everything becomes a spiritual way of evolving when we're able to touch in on the center of ourselves that is
Mm.
Tantra, that Tantra teaches us.
So, what has surprised you the most in your work?
What surprised me the most, I find it's about myself, honestly. This work is
Mhm.
about my own spiritual evolution. And what has surprised me is the more I surrender into it, the more I surrender into this thing that is holding the container for other people in that way, is it's not me. I do not do this. This is not, yeah, I went to school. Yeah, I did hours and hours of training. Yes, I've been doing this a long time, and I've really brought ego and structure and um, my life's work into this, right? And all that comes with that, like expectation and like, okay, this is like what I'm doing. This is how much but the more I surrender into the process, right? And let go, the deeper I get into my own evolution.
Mhm.
The more that I surrender and say, what is here? How is this going? Like, how is this situation? How is this new client? What do they need? And how can I step out of it and let the divine work? And that process is by far the most surprising, in a way where I have learned that this is not about me. It is in a sense where it's like, how deeply can I surrender? How deeply can I
Mm.
surrender my ego? How deeply can I surrender the outcome, the expectation, what I think is best for this person? How can I let that all go and let this person's own like pathway unfold? And so for me, it's like the surprise that I've learned is like, I'm not doing as much as someone would think. I'm literally holding the container of something that is far beyond me. And that to
Yeah.
me is surprising. That surprises me every day,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
sounds. So
Yeah.
what has been your own biggest lesson about intimacy then?
I think for me, I've attached, like we were talking about in the beginning, is how women have attached power to sex, and how we, as women, we've manipulated um, a lot of like relationships and men and all of that with our ability to have power in that.
Mm.
And so for me, it's about, for my my growth process was about surrendering that part of myself, not letting that dictate my relationships anymore. Surrendering the power to have power and control, and trusting that I can let go, trusting that I can let go and trust
The process.
relationships. Yeah,
Yeah.
trust the process. Um,
So
Again, it's everybody has their own way, their own path into this part. For me,
I
it was
mean,
like addiction. And yeah, for me, it was like years of leaving my body, taking like not being in reality, taking off, like leaving the scene,
mhm.
disassociating, and learning how to trust to come back into my body and stay even when it's hard or intense or something that makes me uncomfortable. That's been my true what I've learned most about Tantra and work and sacred sexuality and conscious relationships.
That's beautiful,
Yeah.
Rachel. Thank you for
Hmm.
sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, what does love mean to you today that it didn't mean 10 years ago? Or maybe it is the same, but for most people it evolves.
Changes, yeah. I think um, love for me has changed drastically. I mean, I've become a mother, I have children, and I've walked through divorce and loss and so many things. And so, in each of those hard experiences and real experiences, becoming a mother is I would say is hard for a woman, and not bad, but just hard.
Mm.
I think love has changed in me in a way I understand love as something that's much more vast, such something that is much more full spectrumed as far as like love doesn't just come from happy moments. Love doesn't just come from good sex and somebody that doesn't leave you. Love comes from all of it. Like when someone leaves you, love shows up, you know. Um, when you get in a really big fight with your partner and you get your feelings hurt and you want to leave, but you don't, love shows up. Um, Love shows up in ways where I find are the most like opposite of what we kind of think of as love, you know.
Mm.
Love is grief, like having the grief and experiencing true grief in my life. I find that those are the moments that I've felt love the most. It's interesting, you know. So I find that love is a full spectrum of human emotion, of human experience, of the whole thing, you know, sadness, grief, rage, anger, um, and that we find our way back to the knowing and the experience of love through being present through all of that stuff.
Mm.
You know, choosing to be present and not disassociate, choosing to uh, carry children through life, even though it's hard. Um, Choosing to be a mother, you know, fully every single day. How am I going to be the best mother that I can be? How am I going to be the best partner that I can be? Um, how am I going to be the best caretaker of myself that I can be? Because I love all of it so deeply, you know, because I love my children, because I love my partner, because I love myself, because I love, you know, the the experience of chaos, because it teaches us how important love is in even the most chaotic of environments. You know what I mean? I think it's like this human fabric that keeps us all together. So love to me is God. Love to me is the true divine. It's the language of the divine. It's the breath of the divine. It's the true part of like being human. And I think that's me evolving spiritually. I think that's me practicing spirituality every day and having my own um, discipline. You know, I'm disciplined. You know, I'm a tantrika. I have a lineage. I have a guru. I teach meditation. It's real for me. You know, it's not just like a trend or something that I'm like using as like a way to sell myself. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like for me, it's like real. It's like where I have met God. So I'm like a devotee of it, you know? Uh, and I find that when we have that discipline of something that has to do with love and spirituality, it really does bring more truth into the scenario, more of it being a reality rather than a fantasy or a concept, I guess you
It's
could
so
say.
beautiful what you're saying.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, so what does a truly alive relationship look like to you?
Hmm. A truly alive relationship to me, personally, would be a deep, intimate connection where it's all in acceptance. So, like, for instance, I have to accept my partner as he is,
You can't change him.
right? I can't change him. And there is um, a beautiful freedom in that whole concept because it's like if I don't want to accept him, I can choose something else, but that's the
Mm.
only choice that I have. It's like I have I have my choice and that's what I have control over. That's what I can have. That's what I own. That's what I can work towards. That's what I can work with, is what I have choice over. And, what I find being in my 40s and going through many different relationships and experiences and things, what I truly like really long for now is acceptance. Acceptance in all the ways that I am. I want my partner to accept me. I want him to accept me in intimacy. I want him to accept me in the way that I choose to move through my life, my choices. I want him to have agency in saying, I accept you, I see you, and I love you. I love that about you. I fully accept you. And in that sense, it brings in this space where it's like, anything's possible when you're fully accepted in a relationship. Anything. You can
Yeah.
express your fantasies in bed, and have that person be like excited to be like, oh, wow, yeah, that sounds awesome. It brings spice into the physical aspect of a relationship. It
And
brings love.
curiosity.
Yeah, and curiosity. Exactly. Um,
That means like you get I like this idea of 1 + 1 = 3. So if you think about expansion and how you can work and grow together as a couple and as an individual, I think that's also what you're in one way describing that by accepting who your partner is for what they are,
mhm,
you can actually truly make them grow, and you can make yourself grow, and you can make you as a couple grow.
Because when there's acceptance, there's trust.
Exactly.
Yeah, when there's not trust, it's really hard to grow with somebody else. It's really hard to like give them your full sense of self. It's really hard to trust that like what path they're going to take is going to lead you to a space where you're going to be able to grow too, So I
But
think
yeah, but
acceptance,
and when you do that, you don't stay in that emotional safety place either.
right?
Because if there is no trust, you don't have that emotional safety in the same way.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what is one thing you wish every listener understood about intimacy?
Hmm. If I were to say one thing, I would say the true intimacy is a way to experience your inner divinity. And I think we all really, really deep down want to feel ourselves on that level, feel connected to ourselves on that level.
Yeah,
And so intimacy is loving awareness. And I think that when we can meet ourselves with loving awareness, we can taste what true intimacy is.
yeah,
And yeah, I think that intimacy is the doorway for that. It can be a path to true self-awareness and self-loving awareness, really, honestly, with everything. So intimacy is like a pleasurable way to evolve. It doesn't always have to be pain and doesn't always have to be suffering.
true.
It could actually be pleasure, you know.
It can
And-
indeed. So,
yeah.
so if someone's listening now and they feel disconnected from themselves right now,
Hmm.
where would you invite them to begin?
Where would I invite them to begin? I would invite them to begin to question and kind of explore what it is they truly desire in
Hmm.
this lifetime. If they desire to feel more connected to their body, if they desire to have a wonderful, fulfilling relationship with somebody else, if they desire to feel more pleasure or have more money or, um, you know, create a life that they might not feel they have right now, I think the step to take in the very beginning is to really get clear on what you truly desire. And from there, we are able to kind of see what it is that's in the way of that desire and to start there.
That's a beautiful way, beautiful message, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
So, last question now. What gives you hope?
What gives me hope? Oh, I don't know. Hope is an interesting topic. I feel like I feel like I hope for people to find out what they really desire and to chase after that and to find it and to take all the debris out of the way to really achieve what people really truly desire so that they can give back to the world and change, change the trajectory of where we're headed. I feel like when people are happy inside their bodies and happy inside their partnerships, that creates a ripple effect in the world, where we're able to come together on a better, more understanding level. So my hope is to help, only if it's just one human being in the world, get connected to their bodies again and achieve what they truly desire, and have fulfilling, wonderful, orgasmic lifetime. That's it, the ripple effect is what I truly hope for, is that when we become embodied, when we are able to experience our true self, that we share that in the world so that it just ripples outward. And in doing so, we create a more loving space where we can raise our children with less violence and more peace and more connection with each other and the environment around us.
And more
That's
love.
my hope. And more love. Yeah, more love for each other and for Earth. And
yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
What I take away from this conversation is that intimacy may have far less to do with techniques than we often imagine. Perhaps it begins with something much simpler. Slowing down, feeling, listening, being willing to stay present with ourselves and with another human being. Not fixing, not performing, not escaping, just meeting. Thank you for joining us on 34O. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. 34O is now listened to in more than 85 countries around the world. And if you're new here, please follow the podcast and join us as we continue exploring relationships, intimacy, emotional health, masculinity, femininity, human connection, and what it truly means to be alive. Until next time, stay open, stay honest, and stay human.